I have a belief there's a difference between motivation and movement, and sometimes we get the two confused. We can see movement as maybe a form of people being motivated, but movement tends to be an external force. Motivation tends to be an internal force. And when we're going through the process of transformational change, motivation is critical. Where are you mentally with that? Rhetorical question, but I want you to consider right now this morning, where are you? Are you on the half that understands clearly about what's necessary to move forward, or are you in the half that's not quite sure? So I see where you're going as a giant or huge. I couldn't get any bigger type on there if I tried to. It's a big culture change. And culture is the process of understanding the decisions you've made, the norms that you've set, the spoken and unspoken rules associated with organizational life. It's the way you choose to make decisions and the way that you operate. Culture is made up of everyone that's part of it. It's also made up partly by those that are no longer here. It depends on when you joined the organization, which culture you kind of came into. So here's another one of these things about culture. I find it easier to move to a new culture than it is to change an existing culture. It may sound simple, a semantic difference, but moving toward something is much more palatable. It's much more appealing than moving away from something. Are you in this spot when we're talking about the culture change? It's one of my favorite quotes from Mark Twain. Many terrible things have been in my life, some of which actually occurred. I call this suffering in advance. Because we're changing things, therefore it must be negative. Change is simply a neutral term. We put an adjective around it to describe it for ourselves. Because one of the challenges also when we go into culture change is, we'll talk about this more in detail later, but each of you are changing at different rates. There's a fallacy, a myth, that organizations change. It's not true. People change one at a time. And the art of making culture change happen inside of an organization effectively is keeping everyone moving together in the same direction until the change is actually sustained. Let's see what you think about this. This is the first law of transformational change. Is this statement true? We don't resist change. No? A lot of people shaking their heads. This isn't true. Well, I think this is true because I also think this is true. It's not that we resist change without our permission, without our participation, without our invitation. Doesn't it feel different when change is done to you as opposed to change being done through you? The 5 laws, again, are invitation plus engagement means you're ready. Make change a want to instead of a have to. Remember that individuals change, not organizations. Transform leaders transform. And then finally, change can be instantaneous. Thank you very much.